Hi, everybody. Dr. Joe here. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join me. I wanted to take a few moments and connect with this community on Facebook here, live streams. And the reason that I wanted to do that is because number one, we have a community that's growing of close to 76,000 participants and people. And now that I have the time to look and to see what questions people ask and uh, investigate the numerous different types of Facebook communities there are, I wanted to spend a little bit of time with all of you and let you know that I see you. I've seen your questions. I know that this is such a broad community. We have people that have attended one live stream, or we have people that have been to 4 or 5 week long events, and it's a big variation in people's understanding and people's experience. And I wanted to just connect with all of you and let you know that a community, our community, our advanced community, as one community is a group of people that share the same principles and share the same ideas. And if you're part of this community, it means on some level that you believe that the way you think and the way you feel has some effect on your life. And communities are built on the exchange of ideas, and the exchange of ideas is really how we communicate. The other thing is the agreement on those ideas. If we share the same understanding of possibility, if we share the same understanding of quantum physics and the scientific model of how mind affects the nature of reality, then we'd have to understand mind and its intricacies and the neuroscience of neuroplasticity and how your mind affects your body. And is there electromagnetism that is the result of thoughts and feelings? And can we change our gene expression? And all of these different idealisms tend to create a bond or create a community. But one of the other things that's so important that I find really valuable is experience. And when we share the same experiences, we share the same emotions. And when we share the same emotions, we share the same energy. And a community of people that is inseparable during these times of separation and isolation uh, are people that understand that they can connect in a like-mindedness, in a frequency, and an awareness, a consciousness. And if we're unconscious, then we don't see possibilities. But when we become conscious through knowledge and information, I think it's so important because when we learn something new, we see possibilities we didn't see before. And so many people in this community, your community, are asking really good questions. How do I heal my body? How do I produce elevated emotions? They ask for help and recommendations on what book to read, where should they start, what meditations to get, how do I become abundant? And the fact that you're asking how is really important because information, knowledge, understanding, philosophy, theory is the first step to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. But when you make the effort, really make the effort to get started and initiate what you've learned into practicum, into a practical experience, now you're putting the rubber to the road. And those questions should come up because the how means you want to understand better what you're doing and why you're doing it. So then our scientific model of understanding helps people to understand what they're doing and why. Our community of people, from its uniqueness, is that we're doers. We are interested in creating new experiences. Now, whether that experience is healing yourself or staying awake during your meditation, uh, if you're asking questions on epigenetics or how do I produce elevated emotions, it means on some level you are making an effort to advance the understanding through experience. So Doing it then causes you to start asking more profound questions, and that those questions we have done our best in the books, in YouTube, in some of the courses that we created, and all of the different ways to give you information to keep you inspired. And when you become inspired, you see a possibility that you haven't seen before, and that possibility causes your body to feel energy. You're tapping into an energy or an emotion of the future. And so let's talk about some of the practical applications, because I do want to inspire you that people in this work are healing their bodies. They are creating abundance. They are creating new lives, new relationships. They are having mystical moments that transcend language. But they all started at a certain point of understanding, and it was the practice that caused them to get better at it. And so we have a formula that we have been studying through all the research that we have been doing. And that formula has everything to do with operating your brain at the most efficient level to create a certain level of coherence in your brain, a certain level of holism and order. And that coherent brain allows you to hold a thought, a dream, or a concept without other circuits in your brain distracting you from that vision. And it is a frontal lobe activity. And we see in so many different people that we measure, if they practice it, just like practicing anything, they'll get better at it. But having an intention is sterile without energy. In other words, when you select a new possibility in the quantum field, you're seeing something that you could create. And when you see it, if you're waiting for an experience to happen so you can feel the emotion of the event, for the most part, you're living in lack or separation. We now know then, if you can create coherence in your heart, that heart produces a magnetic field that literally causes you to expand your energy. And the more coherent the heart is, the more you can lay the thought of your future on that energy. And I've said many times, the emotions of anger and frustration and suffering and pain cannot hold the thought or the intention of that future, because those energies or those emotions carry a different frequency or intention. So then, when you can combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, you are changing your energy. And the practice of doing this is the important point, because so many people ask to heal. They want to understand why they're not healing. And for the most part, they haven't learned the formula to heal. They want to create more abundance in their life, but they haven't practiced the formula to create a change or more coherent energy. And the people who begin to do this properly, something magical happens. Their brain begins to change, their gene expression begins to change, their immune system gets stronger, they start having synchronicities in their lives, and it's those synchronicities in their lives that are telling them that what they're doing inside of them is producing feedback in their outer environment to let them know that on some level, those coincidences and opportunities is the quantum field or universal mind organizing events equal to their energy. And people in this work that understand that when they get angry and frustrated and impatient, they've lost their connection to their future and they're back to the energy of their past. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. We all learn these lessons as we move along. But being able to change it in those moments when you don't want to, justified or valid or not, some circumstance in your life causes you to feel and think certain ways, causes us to be more victimized by our environment. And we're teaching people then how to create better lives, not just do the meditations and then go unconscious for the rest of their day, but to stay conscious and to stay in the energy of their future. Now, people come to this work for all kinds of reasons. Some people do want their abundance. Some people want a new relationship. Some people want a new career. But really what they want more than anything else is wholeness. What they want is to feel more joy, more love, more freedom. And we teach people how to do that. So, not everybody in this work heals. This is a process of discovery. But in the last couple years, we have seen so many incredible miracles, so many transformations. And we have the evidence, not only in science and the things we're measuring, and all the wonderful new opportunities that are coming out of this work with other scientific universities and communities that are interested in studying us, but also our testimony, our students. They are the living example of what's possible. And that means then, if other people can do it, you can do it as well. And it's going to take practice. It doesn't mean like if you if you've read all the books on how to dance the salsa and you've memorized all the content, but you've never got on the dance floor and done the salsa, or you've read the books on how to tango, but you've never actually practiced and got your body involved in doing the tango. It doesn't mean that you're not a good dancer. You may have all this talent to be able to do it, but to learn the steps and to make it look natural and easy, and to begin to see that you're evolving your experience is fundamentally important to this work. So I wanted to connect with you to let you know that I have a lot of questions also. And I think all the time about building a better model of understanding, and you should too. And you should investigate the answers to those questions on your own. It's so important for you to take a moment and look for the answer. Not ask the question and have someone answer it for you, although that's great in a community, because our community informs each other. Our community supports each other. Our community heals one another. We honor one another. We respect one another. We tell the truth to one another. We shine for one another so others can shine. We educate one another. These are all the important attributes that build a indivisible bond amongst the community. But the important element then, more than anything else, is seeing feedback in your life. And so people can come for all kinds of reasons to do this work. And to me, it doesn't matter. What matters the most is that you're patient with yourself. These concepts are easier to forget than to remember. And having people that you could take the time with and sit down and say, God, I'd love to speak with a group of people and talk about gene expression and epigenetics. I don't understand all of it. I've read it, but maybe somebody can help me. And you sit down and you have a conversation. What do we know? What do genes do? How do we change genes? What is the latest research? And you start understanding it. And once you start understanding it, when it comes time to do your meditations, you can assign more meaning to what you're doing. And so the magic in this community happens at our week-long events. And I push people in those week-long events way outside of their comfort zone. Because when they step far enough out into the unknown and they keep practicing and they keep applying, they're going to run into something great. And I want that for all of you. I want that for everybody in this community. So that means then that doing this work and taking the time out of your busy lives to become an experimenter, to experiment to see if I change the way I think and the way I feel, is it going to begin to produce effects in my life, and then maintain that state, that energetic state, independent of all the conditions in your environment, independent of the conditioning emotionally that keeps you in the past or the expectation of the same future, and independent of certain habits and unconscious programs. That is the process of overcoming. And being able to sustain that state every single day causes outcomes to begin to mysteriously appear in your life. And it is that mysterious appearance of those opportunities and synchronicities that transcend our limited understanding of possibility. And so, yes, not everybody heals in this work. We're learning the process. And it's not enough to just send people love in this work. Love is the wind that moves the feather in one direction. Intention is what lands the feather on the coordinate, on the person, on the circumstance, on the condition that you want to change. And it is our intention that is a function of our brain, a function of our ability to hold an intent or focus. The emotion is the fuel that moves us closer to that outcome. And so it's important for you to understand then that if not everybody heals in this work, and it's a practical application of overcoming every single day that allows you to become somebody else, then it would be about becoming. It would be about you becoming a greater version of yourself. And I've said to so many people in this work, you know when you're changing in your life when you stop talking about it. And when you stop talking about it, it means then that you're engaged in the process. You are in the river of change. So sending love to someone in a certain direction is good, but we require more. And I know many of you have not been schooled or instructed in the coherence healings, and that's okay. We have so many things that we're planning for our future with our communities. But if you're interested in the coherence healing, or you have somebody that needs a healing, by all means, seek out the communities that provide the resources for you to help those people. So I have gone through great measures in the last several years to keep this information as pure as possible. Not for any other reason, but if I can offer you my greatest understanding of the truth, and then numerous opportunities for you to experience it, if you practice every single day, you're going to get better at doing it. So we have communities of people in this work that I want to inspire all the time, but I also want to set some conditions that allow us to be unique from other communities. I tell our advanced students in this place where we can meet, this Facebook platform where you can support one another and encourage one another, it's so necessary for us to keep this information pure. And it's also really important for us to be unique in a way that we're not complaining about things. Complaining means then, or blaming means then, that someone or something you believe is doing it to you. We want to work at a much higher level. We want to be something different and unique. We want to give people the support that they need in the belief that something is possible for them. So let's unify as a community and let's support one another in the highest way that we possibly can to keep the information as pure as possible. We are planning all kinds of wonderful things in the future to support different communities. We want to give you the resources and give you the things to do. And in getting started, people ask me all the time, how do I get started? Well, a good place to start is either listening to Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself on audio or reading it. I feel like that's a good bridge between knowledge and experience. If you're practicing reading that book, then the next most important thing to do is practice the meditation that goes along with it. Now, why is that meditation important? Because I still do that meditation when I'm in the process of change. I want to become conscious of my unconscious thoughts. I want to be aware of how I speak, how I act. I want to look at how I feel every single day and see if that feeling is connected to my future or is connected to my past. And I want to write all those things down and remind myself to stay so conscious that I don't go unconscious and return back to that old personality that's connected to the same life. And then thinking about thoughts you do want to fire and wire in your brain and have them through repetition with intention and attention. Install the circuits and repeat it enough times so that the hardware becomes more like a software program and you naturally have a new voice in your head that says anything's possible, believe in yourself, you can do this. Instead of I can, it's too hard, I don't feel like it. Those are thoughts of the past. To sit down and decide how you're going to be with your children, how you're going to be in traffic, how you're going to be with coworkers, what would love do, and begin to review and rehearse in your mind how you're going to be. And the act of rehearsing in your mind truly begins to install more neurological hardware. You're reminding yourself and reproducing the same level of mind. Why? So you can step into that footprint in your day and modify your behaviors to produce a different experience. That experience produces a different emotion. And you're going to want to feel that emotion instead of the emotions of your past. And then teach your body what your future feels like. Start making those chemicals. Yes, I know it's not easy all the time to feel elevated emotions. Believe me, I've been at this a long time. But that's natural and normal to excuse yourself and say that I can't. But what about the person who can teach their body emotionally what that future will feel like before it happens? And all it means is sitting down and using your imagination and thinking about how you would feel if your dreams came true. Now, if you could feel that emotion before the event occurs in your life, your body's so objective, it's going to believe that that future is happening to you in the present moment. And it's that elevated emotion that begins to draw like a magnet experiences to you. So then, yep, I'm going to tell you some days it's harder than others to feel these emotions. I can tell you because I've done it enough times. But that's natural and that's normal. But what we're after is supernatural. And if you can feel the celebration, the gratitude, the freedom of expression, the joy, the love for life, and you can feel that ahead of the experience, not only is your body so objective that it's believing that future is happening to you in the present moment because it doesn't know the difference between the real life experience and the one you're fabricating by thought alone, but also if the environment signals the gene, and it does, and the end product of an experience in the environment is an emotion, you're beginning to select and instruct new genes, and you're changing your gene expression in changing your body, upregulating genes for health. And if you can sustain that emotion all day long, you keep new genes on or new genes upregulated and those genes for disease downregulated. And if you fall from grace and you lose it, that's normal, that's natural. But supernatural is pausing for a moment and getting connected to the energy and the emotions of the future. And so going back to the basics, I go back to them all the time, but a good place to start is breaking the habit of being yourself. When you finish that and you got those meditations down where you break the habit of your old self and reinvent your new self, and you're starting to see situations in your life begin to shift without you having to force them or push them or fight for them or manipulate them or control them, now you know that you're doing it properly. If that makes sense to you and you start seeing the magic and you want to move forward, then do the progressive workshop or the intensive, or getting more involved with reading placebo, and practice those meditations. And when you finish that and you feel good about that, move to supernatural. And there's plenty of practice with walking meditations, with teaching you how to open your heart, teaching you how to create more brain coherence, demystifying trance and giving you the tools. And I want you to be on the exploration. I want you to be on this journey with all of us. And so some of you fall asleep in your meditations. Yes, that's because you've been used to laying down and falling asleep. And when you lay down at night or when you wake up in the morning, you are literally changing your brain waves. So when you lay down at night before you go to sleep, you move from beta to alpha to theta to delta, and you slide right down that scale, and you go unconscious. Well, we teach people how to move through those steps, those realms, those domains, staying conscious as they begin to move into their subconscious mind. And yes, in the beginning, you'll fall asleep. My recommendation is sit up and don't use a couch or a chair to lean up against. Sit up and support your back so that you condition your body to be able to sit up on its own. If you're laying down and doing a meditation, you will fall asleep. If you're laying down in bed and you're doing a meditation, more than likely you're going to fall asleep. One of the first meditations we practice is a seated meditation, so you can move into alpha and you can move into theta and open the door between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And falling asleep isn't bad. It's just you miss the door. And if you keep missing the door, change something up. Sit up. Don't lean against something. If you're learning the breath on pulling the mind out of your body, there's enough resources about that. Do that breath before you do your meditation, and you will deliver energy into your brain. We've studied it enough times. Not only a little bit of energy, but a lot of energy, and your brain will get more coherent, and you'll pull those emotions that are stored in your body back up into your brain. And yeah, it takes a lot of effort to do it. But tell me, would you rather live in shame and guilt and unworthiness, or would you rather turn that into freedom and joy and love? And it's the act of doing this and practicing it that frees you from the chains of the past. So if you're falling asleep in the meditation, then change something up. If you're having difficulty feeling an elevated emotion, ask yourself, what emotion am I feeling all day long? That emotion that you're feeling all day long, you've just been practicing feeling, whether you like it or not, most of your life, or for at least a period of time. So then if you understand and you can name that emotion as guilt or unworthiness or fear, now, if you can observe how you act when you're in fear, if you can observe how you think when you're in fear, your observation means you're no longer the program. Now you're the consciousness looking at your old self from a greater level of mind, a greater level of awareness. Now the game begins when you do this, because changing fear and settling the brain and body back down and understanding that formula and practicing. What if it took you 2 weeks to trade fear for love or compassion or freedom? Would it be worth it? And the important point about this is you're not using anything outside of you. No drug, no shopping spree, no television, no internet, no whatever what other people do. You're doing it without any need for the outer environment to make you feel better. This is the first step to mastering ourselves. So I want to inspire you to understand that many people want wealth, and they want abundance. But if they were to see a video of themselves all day long, if they saw a video of one day of how they were living, and they understood that their personality creates their personal reality, and that person was living in lack and living in frustration, living in the emotions of the past, that is not a person who is abundant. That we generate abundance. That's what we do. We generate it. It's an energy. And then we study abundant people. We study masters. We study people that have done it. And you'll see that they failed numerous times. You'll see that they had a lot of trials. They had a lot of betrayals. They had a lot of loss. It never stopped them from their vision. And when they felt so worthy and so abundant that they had all their needs met, they felt so whole that it was no longer about their abundance. It was about who they became. When the abundance finally did come, they wound up giving it away anyway because they knew how to create abundance. And it's not a simple 1, 2, 3 process. It's a constant state of change. It's a constant practice. And yes, people have created a lot of wealth in this work. They've created a lot of abundance. And when they've created it, all they've wanted to do was to give back and make a difference in the world anyway. So our model is to take philosophy and to initiate it and to begin to master it, to learn with our head, to practice and apply with our hands, and then to ultimately know it by heart. To go from mind to body to soul, from thinking to doing to being, from knowledge to experience and to wisdom. And the if this was easy, everybody would be doing it. But I can tell you that the people who stick with it, the people that take the time to fill their brain with knowledge, the right kind of knowledge, not superstitious, dogmatic information, but information that is based in scientific reason. Not being a scientist, but understanding that science is the language to do it. People who take the time to fill their brain with knowledge. Every time they show up and sit down to do the work, every time they make a choice to do it, they're believing in possibility. People who don't do the work on a subconscious or unconscious level don't believe it's possible for them. They don't know that it is possible for them, and I say to them, if not now, when? Because when you believe in yourself and you sit down to do this work, you have to believe in possibilities. And when you believe in possibilities, my God, you're going to have to believe in yourself. And that means you can't blame your past, you can't blame your ex, you can't blame your parents, you can't blame your boss. Sooner or later, whatever emotions we feel because of whatever experiences that happened in the past, sooner or later, we're going to have to overcome those emotions and stop telling the story of the past and really start telling a better story of the future. And when you start believing in your future more than you believe in your past, when you're more in love and excited about your future than you are romancing your past, then your body is going to wake up in the morning and it's going to want you to create. How do I know that? Because so many people in this work, they do the work every day, not because it's a have to. They understand that they're creators and they don't want to stop doing the work because they don't want the magic to end in their life. They would never miss a day, not for any other reason, because when they interact with this divine intelligence that lives in every human being, independent of your race, color of your skin, your culture, the country you're from, your sexual preference, the diet, the food you eat, your age, independent of all these things that people use to create separation, that intelligence lives in every human being, and it is a divine intelligence. And we now know when people run into it and they connect to it and they surrender their identity, their individuality, their separation in matter, and become pure consciousness and let go and trust in the unknown, when they connect and they experience that arousal, that bliss, that ecstasy, that wholeness that's felt in every single cell in their body, they're no longer seduced by the outer world, saying that I need that person or that experience to bring me this feeling. They're connecting with something within them. And when they have this moment, it seems like their past is washed away. They look back at their past and they see it was all necessary for them to experience that moment. And that's the moment they're no longer defined by their past. That's the moment their past is washed away. And the story of their past changes because they're viewing it from a greater level of consciousness. And so the effects of that many times are a biological change, instantaneous change in a person's health, instantaneous change in a person's unconscious programs that keep them repeating the same patterns in their life, instantaneous mystical moment. And to the profane, to the person who's impatient, the person who feels entitled that they don't understand why they didn't have it, they're looking at that person and they think that that person just had one lucky moment where they connected. But what they don't know is that person never missed a day of doing the work for the last 9 months, and it was their time. And they were humble enough to surrender their identity completely to connect to a greater consciousness. And I want that for our community, because when we start interacting and creating from the field instead of from matter, we will do amazing things. We will heal people because we have healed ourselves. And so, yes, I know you have many questions. I assure you, I have as many questions as you do. Uh, and being responsible for searching out those answers for you. Uh, Searching out the best understanding of what you're doing in this work, and understanding why you're doing it, and keeping that model going in your mind. That should be the conversation that you should have with people that you love in your life. Now, does this mean that you can't live life? My goodness, my message has never been that. My message has never been to abstain from life. My message has always been to engage in life, to love with all your heart, to experience a great meal, to experience the sunset, experience the joy and the freedom of creation and expression. My goodness, the more conscious we become, the more we interact with this field, the more we are aware of the smell, the taste, the feel, the look, the light, the sound of everything that is right in front of us that we're unconscious to. And so I wanted to spend a little time with all of you and inspire you to unify as a community, to connect with one another in the highest form, to support one another on this wonderful platform for the greatest good, to give one another the proper information. If I see a person asking, why does Dr. Joe do his meditations at 4 in the morning, or what is the reason for it? The answer is you can find that in the books that I write. I mean, you can find that answer. It makes sense. I'm not doing it just because I want to get up at 4 in the morning. It's just because I want a mystical experience, and there's brain chemistry to support that. So I want you to become fluent in this model. I want you to understand that it's not enough to know. It's important for us to know how. And I have had dry spells in my own evolution and my own journey, sometimes for over a year. And I was thinking all along that I was doing something wrong, or what was I not doing right? And all this time, in this 1 year, I'm studying, I'm learning, I'm researching, I'm self-examining, I'm reflecting, I'm working more, I'm putting more intention, I'm surrendering more, I'm asking what surrender is, I'm doing all these things, and during this 1 year dry spell, I'm making the most profound changes that I've made in many years, and so just because you're creating and things don't appear in your life, you think you're doing something wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. It's a process of discovery. And when you arrive at that experience in your life, when you have that aha moment and you understand what you're doing, when you create some outcome and you feel so whole that you no longer even care if you need it any longer, or you don't even care if you're going to heal any longer because you feel so amazing, you're happy with who you are, that is where the magic begins to happen. So we have all kinds of things coming down the pipe in the future for all of you. We have also a blog that I write of those of you who want to read. I mean, I know that's a dying art, but if you want to read, you could actually read it. They're not too long. There's plenty of them that you can sink your teeth into that I do my best to answer questions for. Those of you who have questions, I invite you to join the Dr. Joe Live, have a conversation, get involved in the practical application. We are going to be offering courses and all kinds of things for our community. Why? Because this is an amazing time in history. Everybody has a problem with governments and politicians, and everybody has a problem with the economy and with education and journalism and religion, and people have a problem with medicine and pharmaceuticals, and we have it's because it's no longer working. It's it's um, it's a time for us to emerge as a greater consciousness, and we can't face these challenges that are appearing in front of us from the same level of consciousness. We have to be different, and we have to be unique. Ask yourself at the end of your day, how did I do today? Ask yourself at the end of your day, where did I lose it? When did I disconnect from the energy? And what was the cause? What was the what person, what circumstance did cause me to feel and think this way? And if I had another chance to do it, how would I do it better? And if you don't know, I'm certain somebody has faced a similar challenge as you. Find a solution by studying people who have done it, or ask yourself, what would love do? What would be what would be the high road to take? And rehearse it. Rehearse it before you go to sleep, and watch what happens when you begin to change the way you think, the way you act, and the way you feel. So it's been a great moment for me to connect with all of you. You are important to us as a community. I know there's a large variation in people here studying and coming to live streams, and we'll start doing live streams again. And then we have people that are advanced students, and this is a community of people, of like-minded people that I want you to be connected to. I want it to be a resource for you to feel like people get you when you talk about this work, and not complain and not make problems or put information up that isn't relevant. But let's keep it as pure and as clean as possible. Let's rise above mediocrity. Let's separate the sacred from the mundane, and let's shine for one another and be the living example of this work. Not for me, and please don't make this work about me. Please make it about you. And when you're so happy with yourself that you've overcome so many unconscious programs that you no longer want to be anyone else because you've invested a lot of your time and energy in yourself. When you invest in yourself, you invest in your future. And leaving a legacy, a story to tell, your family, your children, the people in your life that you love, tell them the story of all the things that you've overcome in your life. Will inspire them to do the same. And when you know you're changing is when you show up in your life when the world returns back to normal, and people notice that you're different. You're no longer consistent with their memory of you. You're not the known, you're the unknown. And people will notice it in the way you speak, the way you stand, the way you move, your energy. And that's a sign now. You no longer belong to your past. That's a sign that you belong to your future. So thank you for making time for me today. I'm sorry I took so long. I just wanted to connect with all of you and inspire you to continue to do this work and to continue to believe in one another. And I will be back very soon to connect with you again. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. I appreciate all of you in so many ways, and thank you for being a part of this community and this work. Thank you.